Hey guys, I'm going to be reading from Tangerine. Surprise. Friday, September 29th, page 145, where we left off last time. Joey didn't show up for practice yesterday, but someone else did. We had been loosening up for about 10 minutes. The starters, including Victor, were taking shots at Chandra in the goal. The subs, including me, were kicking a ball around in a circle. I looked over toward the bus lanes and saw a white van pulling in. It had two high-tech looking antennas on top, one on the back that looked like a corkscrew, and one in the middle that swiveled. Anyway, this van kept driving right off the blacktop and over the grass toward our field. When it got closer, I can see that Tangerine Times was printed on the side. I suddenly got a sick feeling. Mom had actually done it. She had called Mr. Donnelly about our team, or at least about the girls on our team. The van pulled up next to Betty Bright's car, her 1967 yellow and white Mustang. A young guy with long hair and a big camera hanging around his neck jumped out of the driver's side. He set a black leather case down on the back of the Mustang. Mr. Donnelly got out of the other side. He had on a blue suit and carried a small notebook. He walked straight up to the coach, who was on the sideline talking to Dolly. I drifted toward them to hear what they would say. It was obvious that Mr. Donnelly and Betty Bright knew each other. She shook hands with him and gave him a big smile. She stopped smiling pretty fast when she saw the long-haired guy's case on her car. She started walking over there just as the photographer closed in on Nita and Maya and started taking pictures. Mr. Donnelly walked with her, opening his notebook. He said, "I understand that you have a couple of pretty special players on your team this year." The coach took the photographer's bag and dumped it on the ground. She said, "Uh-huh, and who would that be?" Mr. Donnelly flipped back a few pages in his notebook. "A girl named Maya and a girl named Chandra. They're both supposed to make the all-county boys team." When Dolly heard this, she yelled over, "Hey, Chandra, they want to talk to you, girl." Chandra had been focused on the shooters all this time. When she heard Dolly, she looked over, puzzled. Then she spotted the Tangerine Times van and the long-haired guy with his camera. A look of terror came over her face. She spun around on her heels and sprinted away, right out of the goal, across the field, across the bus lines, and into the school. Everybody stopped what they were doing and watched her go. Now that there was no one in goal, Victor walked up to the photographer and announced, "You must be here to interview me. I'm Victor Guzman, the captain of the first-place Tangerine Middle School War Eagles. How do you do?" The guy looked over at Mr. Donnelly, then said, "Excuse me," and tried to get around Victor, but Victor blocked him and added, "You'll probably want to get some action shots of me before you do anything else." The photographer stared at him dumbly. Then he stepped back and lined up a picture of Victor, who struck a pose and smiled. The camera flashed, and Victor added, "That's Victor Guzman. You know how to spell that? Guzman. Don't you go spelling my name wrong, or I'll have to mess you up." Hernando, Tino, and Mondo crowded in front of the photographer next, telling them their names and demanding that he take their pictures. The guy looked over at Mr. Donnelly, who signaled at him to go ahead and do it. Mr. Donnelly said, "Look, Betty, I'm sorry for disrupting your practice. Can I just get the last names of the girls?" The coach still wasn't looking at him, and she still was not happy. "This is more disruptive than you could know, Mr. Donnelly. If you want to run a picture of our team, you should show Victor. He's our captain." Mr. Donnelly replied, "But he's not news, Coach. Having girls on your team is news." "Not really. I've had girls on this team for 5 years. Why is it suddenly news?" Mr. Donnelly held up his hands to explain, and the coach looked at them. "You're the first-place team in the county. You have the top scorer in the county, and she's a girl." The coach nodded. "All right, fair enough. Her name is Maya Pandey. Pandhi. He wrote down, "Great. And what about Chandra?" "You never mind about Chandra. She doesn't want any part of newspapers or publicity, so that's the way it's going to be." Mr. Donnelly nodded. "Okay, I'll certainly respect her wishes." They shook hands again. The guy with the long hair saw this and broke away from the boys. He grabbed his bag, climbed up into the driver's seat of the van, and the two of them drove back the way they came. Betty Bright watched them go. Then she walked slowly across the field and into the school. Victor sat down, so the rest of us did too. Finally, the coach and Chandra came walking out. By the time Chandra was back in goal to start the scrimmage, we had lost about 20 minutes of practice time. Like I said, that all happened yesterday. This morning, I looked in the Tangerine Times. The back In the back of the sports section, there was no article about our team, but there was a photo. The wrong photo. It was a photo of Nita Shirali with the caption, Maya Pandy leads all scorers in Tangerine County. Good going, Mom. Thanks for coming by. Don't forget to like and subscribe.